This
Hello?
conference will now be recorded.
That's me. I'm recording the meeting. Hey, we can see you, Stephanie. You're muted, though.
Yeah, I know.
There you go. It appears that we are gathering. I think we have a quorum now.
All right.
Hi everyone, this is Justin. Just wanted to let you know the live stream is working and it looks great.
Thank you, Justin. So we are live now.
In 3 minutes, I have
In
the
3 minutes.
live
Okay.
YouTube video up and it is capturing it, but it's not live streaming it yet.
All right. 6:25. If you will give us a heads up, or do you want me to do that?
I'll watch the clock and I'll let you know. I will let you know when YouTube tells me it's live.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I believe all of council and staff that we're expecting to be on the call are with us. Just to give you a warning that this is going live on the YouTube live stream in about 20 seconds. The good news for me is I can see all council members, so you should be able to get my attention if you are wanting to make a motion or a second.
You are all now live.
Thank you, Justin. Okay, well, we're a couple of minutes from the time for call to order. So I just remind everybody that is on the go-to meeting with us that you all received the directions and guidelines for how to have a successful meeting. So I know that you've all seen this. For all of those who are watching on the YouTube live stream, it's a longstanding tradition of Simpsonville City Council to open each meeting with an invocation. Tonight, our invocation is going to be delivered by Pastor Brett Aiken from Temple Baptist Church. We're always looking for volunteers to do this, and during this time, if you are interested in delivering an invocation for one of our meetings, please reach out to me or one of the other members of council, and we'll arrange for you to either attend the meeting or to make a recording to do the invocation. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Aiken and let him deliver our invocation.
Let's pray. Lord, this is the day that you have made, and we rejoice in it. I want to pray for all our city council members, God, that you would grant them your insight in times like these. Lord, we pray what Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 29 and verse 7, that our leaders would seek the peace and prosperity of the city which you have placed them. So, God, I pray you grant that. Lastly, Lord, we ask for your purposes to prevail during this time in our nation, that we could gather together in person soon, Lord. When it's safe, and God, when you will. That we thank you and bless their meeting in Jesus' name.
Thank you, Pastor Aiken. So I believe it is time that we can call the meeting to order. The Simpsonville City Council business meeting for April 14th of 2020 is called to order. City Clerk Long, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Gooch.
Here.
Councilmember Kelly.
Here.
Councilmember Houlihan.
Clerk Long, I saw her say here, but it did not come through on the audio.
Councilmember Roche. Councilmember Cummings,
Here.
Councilmember Hutchings,
Here.
Mayor Shoemaker.
Here. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to switch over to sharing my screen. And would you all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
United States
and
of
to the
America.
republic for which it stands,
One nation.
one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We were going to have to figure out a better way to do that, but I think everybody got along fine with that. So we have 3 different sets of minutes to approve. Each of you will have received a copy of this and had a chance to review it. Let us start with the February 25th, 2020 meeting. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, they will stand as approved. For the meeting of March 10, 2020, are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, those will stand as approved. And finally, for the meeting of March 24, 2020, are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, those meetings will stand as approved. We had no citizen comments submitted for the meeting tonight, so I'm going to move on to the first item of business that's on the agenda. I'm going to turn our meeting over to Mr. Derby. If you'll give me just a moment here. All right, let me figure out how to do this. Got to find him in the list. Okay, Mr. Derby, you're the presenter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, council members. The first item on the agenda tonight is AXE. Let me get the slideshow going. Is AXE 2020-03. This is a annexation request that is for a abandoned sewer line on Blakely Road. The applicant tonight is from the Upstate Karate, which is looking to expand their parking lot and to annex this extra piece of property. Just for reference purposes, this is the satellite image of the area of Blakely Road. The green outline area is the actual abandoned sewer easement. This is a more up-to-date image of the location. And the applicant, I believe, is Tim Thomason.
Does Mr. Thomason have any comments?
Yes, sir. I'd just like to say I'm the civil engineer representing Upstate Karate, and yeah, as Mr. Derby described, back on the image that actually showed the green outline of that parcel, their existing facility, which was recently completed in the last 6, 8, 10 months, is actually on the north side of that parcel that's highlighted, and so through their operations, they've observed, I think, a higher than expected amount of people actually coming to their facility and have had some issues with folks parking out either on Blakely Road or attempting to park in the development next door, the residential development. And so to mitigate that, they went to purchase this property, which they have purchased. They closed on. They own that. And the parking expansion Mr. Derby's showing there is intended to alleviate and mitigate those issues with parking.
try this again. Thank you, Mr. Thomason. Mr. Derby, do you have anything else?
No, I'll just mention that this came before the Planning Commission on March 12th by a vote of 5-0. Planning Commission recommended approval of this annexation. This is something that staff recommends from the fact that it would alleviate possible issues with first responders with this property that would run right through the middle of the parking lot that would be in county territory.
Okay. Councilmember Cummings, I see you have your hand raised, but your microphone is muted.
Yep, I was waiting until it was my turn. I'd like to make a motion.
You have
Second.
the floor.
I'd like to make a motion to approve in first reading of ordinance AXZ-2020-03 proposed annexation, rezoning of property along Blakely Road, upstate karate parking lot expansion.
Second.
All right. I believe we have a motion by Councilmember Cummings with the second by Councilmember Hutchings to approve on first reading of ordinance AXZ-2020-03 proposed annexation rezoning of property along Blakely Road, upstate karate parking lot expansion. Discussion? Councilmember Gooch.
Thank you. Just to clarify, approximately how many parking spaces will this parking lot give these folks?
An additional 40.
And that should cover what you're looking for?
That is what they expect will mitigate this issue.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilmember Houlihan? No. John, if you would give me control back for just a minute so I can see everybody at once. All right, very good. Thank you. Okay, is there any other discussion now that I can see all our council members? Hearing none, are we ready for the question? Everybody raise your hand on the screen. All right, I think we're ready for the question. So on the ordinance as read, all those in favor, actually I'm going to call each of you in order. Councilmember Gooch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
And Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
And I am a yes. So the motion to approve on first reading of ordinance AXZ 2020-03 proposed annexation rezoning of property along Blakely Road, upstate karate parking lot expansion passes. All right, next item on the agenda. Again, I'm going to turn this back over to John so that he can present. Okay, John.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, council members, our next item is another annexation petition. This is AXZ 2020-04. This is for a request for a piece of property on West Georgia Road located at 1216. You'll see on your map now that is a highlighted area in green, fronting West Georgia Road. The applicant to speak on the behalf of the petition is Ernest Crosby.
Mr. Crosby, you with us? Go ahead.
If he is not, I can present the item a little more in depth for them, if that's okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Derby.
The request for this parcel to be annexed in is to go to business in general. The applicant is hoping to tie into the future sewer being developed at the market at Standing Springs Publix. In your staff report, you'll notice that I inadvertently put a reference to a prior annexation. The correct annexation is AXE 2020-01, which would be the parcel to the left of this. It was recently annexed as well with the same district designation of business general. They are looking for, the reason for the annexation is to have police protection and for the possibility of future sewer that is possibly to come that direction. And I can answer any questions you might have regarding this.
There we go. All right, thank you. A motion is in order. Councilmember Hutchings.
I make a motion to approve on first reading of ordinance AXZ-2020-04, proposed annexation rezoning of property located at 1216 West Georgia Road.
Second.
Who gave the second? Was that you, Mr. Gooch? Mr. Gooch. Okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Hutchings and a second by Councilmember Gooch to approve on first reading of ordinance AXC 2020-04, proposed annexation rezoning of property located at 1216 West Georgia Road. Discussion? Councilmember Gooch.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Derby, since they're going from residential to business general, will this change their taxation on their property?
I'm not familiar with that. I'll give you an answer yes or no on that. The applicant is living at that location right now, and she continues to want to live there until she's no longer fit to live in that house and moves. So as for right now, it'll still be residential for her use.
Will either our administrator or the city attorney clarify that? Because I want to make sure this person is aware that they're going to go from the residential rate to potentially a commercial rate. Is that correct, or will that not happen?
Administrator Gracely?
Mayor, I believe that as long as she's listed that with the county assessor as her primary residence, the 4% assessment will not change.
Other discussion? Seeing nobody raising their hand, are we ready for the question? Okay, on the motion to approve on first reading of ordinance AXZ 2020-04, proposed annexation rezoning of property located at 1216 West Georgia Road, I'll poll the council members in order. Councilmember Gooch?
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly?
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan?
Yes.
Councilmember Roche?
Yes.
Councilmember Cumming?
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. The motion passes unanimously and carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, SP-2019-10, Fairview Road Storage and Commercial ID Major Change. I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Derby. Okay, you're up. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember, our next item is SP 2019-10. This is a major change to a already approved innovative development concept. The applicant tonight is Daniel Merritt. The project they're looking to do is change from the previous approved concept, it's shown on your screen, and statement of intent, to tonight's proposed concept plan. They are taking some other changes within the development that Mr. Merritt will explain further in detail.
Go ahead.
All right. All right. John, that's the old concept plan that you're looking at there. Do you have the revised one with the building rotated?
Give me 1 second.
That's the right rendering. We just,
Yep.
okay. So if you don't mind, John, can you skip back to the plan and I'll talk through the differences. Okay, guys. So what we are proposing is a major change to the zoning district. This property was previously zoned as ID, which is Innovative District. So we brought this project before the Planning Commission a few months back, and there was some concern from Planning Commission members about two things. Really, the main concerns were traffic access onto Fairview Road, and then the other was the how we met the Innovative District requirements. So what you're looking at right now is the old site plan that we took to Planning Commission, and the biggest thing that that came out of that meeting is the building that's located to the east, which is closest to Fairview Road. Yes, where the mouse is. So that's a mixed-use building, which is going to be potentially office or retail restaurants. We're trying to leave the flexibility in to have all of those uses. And that building was accessed through the drive on the south, but there was also a shared access easement to the north of that building that goes out to a lighted intersection at Fairview Road. Obviously, we would prefer to bring people out to Fairview Road at the traffic light as opposed to the area without the traffic light. So because of those concerns, and that was a concern of Planning Commission, so because of those concerns, we ended up rotating that building north-south as is shown in the rendering, and I wish we had the plan of that, but it's okay. And we ended up switching the parking layout, as you can see in that rendering, so that if you can imagine the parking lot in front of that smaller mixed-use building, we're trying to make the north entrance, which is at the top of the screen, the primary for that, which would take those vehicles out at that traffic light. We also revised some of the materials on the exterior storage units to bring a higher architectural quality to that. And then if you do know that part of town, there's a nicer multifamily development to the west of that, but the properties to the north and to the northeast of that are either existing storage facilities or like an auto repair shop. So the goal is to use these exterior units around the storage portion of the property as another means of buffering the interior of the property from the adjoining parcels.
Mr. Derby, do you have a recommendation?
Thank you, sir. Yes, this does show a different layout from the site plan. I apologize on that part. He did address the concerns that we had during Planning Commission, which was dealing with traffic. We felt that would not be a utilized access coming down that previously image drive aisle. So we feel that has been corrected. They've put some signage inside in the statement of intent for inside the building that would definitely encourage people to use the actual access through the commercial part. The change in this, we see that it will be designed better. The commercial access part will be designed during phase one, as opposed to being left for a second phase.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. A motion is in order. Don't see anybody wanting to do a motion. Councilmember Houlihan.
Mayor Shoemaker, I'm going to move that council approve SP 2019-10, which is the Fairview Road Storage and Commercial ID major change.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Houlihan with a second by Councilmember Kelly to approve SP-2019-10, which is Fairview Road Storage and Commercial ID Major Change. Discussion? Councilmember Hutchings.
This question, I guess, would be directed to Mr. Derby. The staff concerns that you noted on this the staff under staff comments, have all those been addressed and to your satisfaction at this point?
Yes, sir. That was the whole planning commission issue that we had was really the traffic. The change in material, they feel they've improved that from the planning commission, the way it was described there. So the main paramount issue we had was traffic, and the layout they have provided does address that concern.
Thank you.
Councilmember Roche.
Mr. Derby, I believe that you also noted that Planning Commission was concerned about this particular development as to whether or not it actually does meet the requirements of innovative development. Can you explain how the changes that they made bring that more to code?
Yes, the original concept plan that was originally approved had what at the time and in now was being innovative, being a single 3-story unit with no traditional outside standard units. We felt that'd be a unique, innovative design, along with the green space they're providing and the commercial aspects. Those were all approved. They were looking to do all masonry material, just kind of like the V-safe storage. During the change, when they changed the material to metal only, I felt like they were going a little under the innovative criteria, but after Planning Commission, they have addressed that concern as well as facade, because that's one of the requirements in the innovative development. It's the quality of materials being used.
Is there any other discussion? If you would, raise your hand if you're ready for the question. All right, I believe we're all ready for the question. So on the motion to approve SP-2019-10 Fairview Road Storage and Commercial ID Major Change, I will poll the council. Councilmember Gooch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
And I vote yes. The motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is first reading of ordinance Z-20-20-02, proposed rezoning of property located at 3130 North Industrial Drive. Mr. Derby, I'll turn it over to you. All yours.
Oh, thanks, sir. All right, moving on to our fourth item. Councilmember, we have a petition for rezoning a piece of property on North Industrial Drive, 3130 North Industrial. You see on your image here the building in question. People are more familiar with this being the Progressive Equipment Facility. At this time, the applicant is looking to have this property rezoned from business general to business industrial. I'll give you a little zoning location.
Do you have a recommendation, Mr. Derby, or is somebody speaking on behalf of this?
Yes, sir. I believe Jeremy McCutcheon's, I think I saw his name.
Yeah, Jamie McCutcheon, yes.
Jamie, are you there? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, my name's Jamie McCutcheon. I am the principal of Rymar Waterworks. We have this property under contract to purchase. We have, in meeting with staff, determined that the zoning is not currently suitable for our use. I'm assuming that most of you are familiar with this property. It's a former warehouse building. It's been abandoned for, I think, over 10 years. Quite an eyesore. Currently is overgrown and graffiti, and the city of Simpsonville has actually had to have the building boarded up and chained up because the current owner has not done any work on it for quite a while and had some vagrants inhabiting the building for a while. So we're proposing it to use for our business. We're a waterworks manufacturer. We make erosion control products, and we would very much like to locate into the city of Simpsonville. The product you see there is called a skimmer. It's used in sediment basins. We have a couple other erosion control products we make. That's another one. So in order for us to use this, we have to have it rezoned. And in doing so, like I said, you're familiar with, John, if you can stay right there for 1 second. I'm familiar with the current condition, but as you can see from that picture, you know, there's graffiti on the building that's visible from 385, and actually, if you can make it out, there's a police car there in the parking lot, which is not uncommon, as I understand, to have some police presence to keep the vagrants out of the building. Now you got the photo like, again, that's just showing the current condition of the building. It's in very rough shape. Keep going. There you go. So this is just a rough sketch of what we would envision. Obviously, we would clean it up, add some landscaping, repaint it, make it much more attractive for the city, especially there at your gateway on West Georgia Road. But again, in order to do so, we have to have it rezoned in order to meet our use. So I'll be happy to answer any other questions that council may have.
Mr. Derby, do you have a recommendation, or are you ready to turn it back over to council?
Mr. Mayor, I just mentioned that this did go before Planning Commission on May 12th. It did have a approval of 5-0 to council. We did discuss quite a bit of issues regarding this location as far as the site requirements for here and the location, but it did receive approval 5-0 with Planning Commission.
Thank you. A motion is in order. Councilmember Roche.
Mayor, I move that we approve upon first reading ordinance Z-2020-02, proposed rezoning of property located at 3130 North Industrial Drive.
Second.
Is that you, Mr. Gooch? No, Mr. Hutchings. Right, okay, so we have a motion by Councilmember Roche with a second by Councilmember Hutchings to approve on first reading ordinance Z-2020-02, proposed rezoning of property located at 3130 North Industrial Drive. Discussion? Councilmember Roche.
I'm curious if Mr. Reinmar can tell us how many jobs this plant will provide.
I will try. So currently we have 2 full-time employees. We have a part-time administrative person, part-time salesperson, and part-time bookkeeper. We've just brought on a new line of product, and my shop manager tells me it should need at least 4 to 5 people once that product starts rolling. So I would say long-term, we're expanding from a 5,000 square foot facility, and this facility is about 15,000 square feet. So I envision having, ultimately 8 to 10 full-time employees at that location.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All right, I only have one comment from me to you, Mr. McCutcheon. I will regret that I only get to vote yes once. I've watched this property for a long time, and I'm just very excited to see you moving forward with something there. I can't say enough how much I'm glad to hear that this is a possibility. So are we ready for the question? It appears that we are. So on the motion to approve on first reading of ordinance Z-2020-02, proposed rezoning of property located at 3130 North Industrial Drive, I will poll council. Councilmember Gooch,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan,
Yes.
Councilmember Roche,
Yes.
Councilmember Cumming,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings,
Yes.
and of course, I'm a yes. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr.
very much.
McCutcheon.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, first reading of ordinance Z-2020-03, property at 506 Northeast Main Street. Mr. Derby, I will make you presenter. All yours.
All right. Our final item for tonight, council members, is a rezoning petition, Z-2020-03. This location is 506 Northeast Main Street. You see on the map here, the location which fronts Northeast Main Street is actually two parcels. This one and this just has a tax map part at the top. At this time, it is split zoned, business general along the front, with residential office institute in the back. The applicant is looking to have this entire parcel, 506, and the spot above it rezoned to innovative development. And
Do you have somebody presenting?
do not see their name on the list, but I can go through the slides and answer as much as I can question-wise.
Go ahead, Mr. Derby.
This is the concept plan that they have submitted to us, and the site statement of intent, I can't provide that one, but this one here shows the layout with the front part being commercial and the back part staying residential. They are providing 48 with a maximum of 50 townhome units. They are providing a large amenity area that's going to be designed for either dog park or a gathering spot that's to the north. This is kind of one of the concepts that the builder they're looking to add on to this project. That is basically the presentation of the item.
Okay, the motion is in order. Not seeing anybody. Councilmember Houlihan?
Mayor Shoemaker, I'm going to move that council approve Z-2020-03, the proposed rezoning of the property located at 506 Northeast Main Street.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilmember Houlihan with a second by Councilmember Roche to approve on first reading of ordinance Z-2020-03, property at 506 Northeast Main Street. Discussion? Not seeing anybody. Councilmember Gooch?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm glad to see that this property, somebody is looking at it because it's been empty for some time. I do have some concerns about the innovativeness of the project. And even some of the comments that are made in staff report, you know, with lots of, excuse me, I'm scrolling, give me a moment to, with careful design and careful screening, it could be made to be what it is. There was also a dissenting vote Do we know what the dissenting vote was on the planning commission? Did they voice their concerns over any of this development?
Councilmember Gooch, the topic that came up the most during this meeting was related to traffic, the egress and ingress of this development. That main topic was most likely issue why it was voted down by one of the members.
Thank you. My main concerns are, I hadn't thought about traffic, that's a good point. But just the innovative nature of it, we've got that ID zoning for something to be truly innovative and unique and special. And I'm not knocking the project, but I think it's a little bit too in the box. It's like we're squeezing as much as we can into this. We'll put some commercial up front, we'll throw some houses in the back. We've got a dog park, that's nice, but where's the innovative part? Where's the creativity that should go along with an ID designation? I'd like to see some more, maybe some more ideas, maybe they got some different renderings that I can relate to better than what I'm seeing. Those are my concerns.
Thank you, Councilmember Gooch. Anyone else? Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to echo that sentiment. I don't see the innovative nature of this project that it's currently presented. I know in the section under amenities, landscaping, and buffers, there's some mention of those things, but I don't know that that's actually going to happen in the development initially. I would be concerned about that. I would like to see that area developed, but I'd like to see more innovation in that development.
Councilmember Roche, I think I saw you ask for attention.
Yes, sir. I agree with both Mr. Hutchins and Mr. Gooch. I fail to see the innovativeness in this development. I can see it as the R-OI residential neighborhood. I can see office and institution. I don't see anything innovative about this. My main concerns are that it is Main Street property. So, you know, I think that ID should matter. And also, you know, we're starting to get a lot of townhomes just kind of stacked everywhere. And I recognize the financial opportunity for companies to come in and build those and rent those out because we are a fast-growing area. But we're also having a bit of a housing crisis when it comes to affordable housing. And I'm not sure that's the solution to it. So it's really not solving that problem for us, as well as it's really nothing that's going to bring business to our area other than just another place for people to rent. So I'm slightly opposed. I mean, I'm glad to see something going there, but I'd like to see it really live up to that ID innovative development zoning.
Any additional discussion? Councilmember Houlihan.
Thank you. I would echo some of what has already been said, and that we've spent a lot of time talking about downtown and talking about Main Street and what we want the future of the whole area to look like, what we want people to see when they're driving down Main Street. And so for me, if we're going to approve something to change and to go there, yes, something would be better than what's there, but I kind of want to be a little wowed, you know, like excited about it, to see an innovative development that's like, you know what, that would be really cool to see on Main Street in Simpsonville. And I don't feel that way based on the materials that we've been provided. I'm inclined to vote yes because it's first reading, and then maybe see if we can get some additional information or something before second reading.
Anyone else? Councilmember Gooch.
Just one question for staff. Under the current zoning, what kind of project could go ahead on this without coming back to us for any kind of approval?
As it stands right now, the front part, business general, would not require coming to council. The residential part in the back, if it was left the same, It would be zoned institution or residential, which that would have to come through council. If I could address some of y'all's concerns that you've provided, this would be a mixed use, which they would be bound to the actual statement of intent, which they would be locked into what we allow or don't allow at this location. With the ID, they are providing a much higher quality that you would get in building materials. They're actually providing an amenity that wouldn't be required in a regular residential as well. And they're preserving a lot of green space that we feel is checking the boxes of the innovative part. And I can speak on the applicant's behalf.
Okay. Any other member of council? Councilmember Houlihan?
So I hear you talking about green space, and I saw it written in here, and I see that there's some numbers, and we've got some pictures of what these townhomes might look like. But I'm a pretty visual person, and looking at this, I can't see what that value add of the green space for the innovative development here would be. I would like to see it, see something more that shows me what that would actually look like. That's all.
Okay. Any other members of council? Okay, Mr. Derby, I have a question for you. What is the residential density that would be allowed under the current OI?
I believe it's 6 units per acre. This one's bringing in at 7.5 units per acre for ROI, or for the innovative development.
For ID. So they are coming in at a higher density than it's currently zoned. And I'm going to agree with what the other council members have said about not seeming very innovative. It just seems like crowding to me. The other concern I have when I look at the concepts, it mentions about bringing a sidewalk out to Northeast Main Street, but that's nice enough, but we all know that walking along Northeast Main Street is not a very pleasant experience. And so if we're going to see something innovative, I would like to see something that connects to the other side streets, you know, that rather than just a narrow sidewalk out to Northeast Main Street. And again, something that is truly more innovative and attractive. This just looks like row houses to me that they don't, you know, they might have nice materials, but it doesn't present well in my mind. Any other discussion? Are we ready for the question? I think so. Okay. On the motion to approve on first reading of ordinance Z-2020-03, property at 506 Northeast Main Street, I will poll council. Councilmember Gooch.
No.
Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Councilmember Houlihan.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
No.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
No.
And I vote no. So on a vote of 2 yeses and 5 noes, the motion fails. Thank you. Did you get those names, Clerk Long?
Yes, sir, I did. It was Councilmember Houlihan and Councilmember Cummings.
Thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is the Duke Energy Tower lease. Do you need to show this, Administrator Gracely?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor, I do not. Everyone was provided a copy.
Okay.
And it's all
for us then?
language, so it would be difficult to see on the screen.
Mr. Mayor, you skipped over the business license ordinance, I think.
You're correct. I'm sorry. Let me back up and let's go to the business license ordinance. Item number F, the second reading of ordinance 2020-01, adoption of the 2019 or the 2019 model business license ordinance. Administrator Gracely, would you present, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Nothing has changed since first reading of this matter last month. Essentially, what we're doing is adopting the model business license ordinance language provided by the municipal association. It's cleaning up some language in there to specify what gross receipts are, particularly. We had already amended our ordinance about a year ago to have a uniform date for business licenses to be renewed. And that was so that we could participate in the municipal association's portal so that companies that do business in multiple jurisdictions would have the same ordinance to follow, the same renewal dates and the like. And so essentially what this is doing is just cleaning up some language in the other ordinance. It doesn't really change much of the intent, and we're adopting the new classifications that were provided as well.
Okay. Motion is in order. Councilmember Hutchings.
Mayor and council, I'd like to make a motion to approve on second reading ordinance 2020-01, adoption of the 2019 model business license ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Hutchings with a second by Councilmember Cummings to approve on second reading of ordinance 2020-01, adoption of the 2019 model business license ordinance. Discussion? I'm hearing no discussion. We're ready for the question. So on the motion as read, I will poll council. Councilmember Gooch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
And the mayor is a yes. The motion carries unanimously. All right, on to the next thing, the Duke Energy Tower lease. Administrator Gracely, will you present, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As I have reported previously, Greenville Water System came to us about a year ago and asked that we remove our fire department communications equipment from their water tower on Main Street. We've been on that for a long time. The city actually owned the water system decades ago, and it was transferred to Greenville Water. So that's been the site of that communications equipment for quite some time. Greenville Water had offered a lease agreement to us, which I never formally asked council to adopt because I was very much opposed to the terms of that agreement. They were going to construct a monopole on that site and allow our communications equipment, antennas, to be on the monopole, and then we would not have to actually move the other equipment from the site. That would require a very hefty payback, and there was no indication that the payment terms would end. And it was a very expensive proposition for the city. So we began to look at other options, one of which was our Board of Zoning Appeals had approved a variance for Duke Energy a few months before Greenville Water came to us for construction of a 300-foot tower for their communications equipment. And so knowing that we only needed to be at about 185 feet, and they are, of course, going to be at the top of their tower at 300 feet, I knew there was room on there for us. And so I began discussing with their engineers and their governmental liaisons the possibility of a lease agreement for the city to occupy that tower site and move our equipment over to that site permanently. They have agreed to that. You've been provided a copy of the lease agreement. Essentially, there's no cost associated with locating on that site. They're not charging us an annual lease. We would be metered just like we are at the other site where we would pay for our power usage only. So it's a very favorable agreement. I'm pleased that we were able to work out the terms, and would just ask for your permission to sign this and move forward.
Thank you. The motion is in order. Councilmember Roche.
Mayor, I move that we approve the Duke Energy Tower lease.
Second.
So I have a motion from Councilmember Roche and a second from Councilmember Gooch to approve the Duke Energy Tower lease. Discussion? Hearing none, then we are ready for the question. I'll poll council. Councilmember Gooch.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche,
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan,
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
I went out of order there, but yes.
Yeah, you did.
Councilmember Cummings,
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. The motion carries unanimously. The pictures moved around on the screen. I lost track of you, Stephanie. Thank you. On the last item, Council Administrator Grace, will you present the cost estimate for relocating FD communications equipment?
Yes. So unfortunately, while there is no cost associated with the lease agreement, there is cost associated with moving the equipment. Chief Williams was able to secure a quote from Gulf Services, who is the subcontractor that actually located the Duke antenna on their tower, and that's their preferred contractor to work on their site. They have given us an estimate for the cost of doing that. Now, this would include all of the materials needed, pouring the pads for the equipment cabinet, doing all of the cabling. So it is a turnkey cost. And as you can see there, it is not inexpensive. It's an $80,997.22 estimate. This is worst case scenario. We're hoping perhaps some of these things can be done a little more efficiently, and so the cost maybe would not be quite that much, but that would be the high end of the cost estimate to move all of that equipment. We're moving basically less than half a mile from one side of Main Street to the other. But the cost is that the cabinet has to be installed. All of the cabling is new. The antenna has to be installed on the tower. And it is we knew it would be an expensive thing, but it's a one-time cost. And hopefully we won't ever have to do this again.
Okay, motion is in order. Councilmember Gooch.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I move we accept the cost estimate as presented for relocating fire department communications equipment.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Gooch with the second by Councilmember Kelly to approve the cost estimate for relocating the fire department communications equipment. Discussion? Councilmember Gooch.
So, Ms. Grizzly, we have an estimate here for roughly what, $87,000, almost $88,000. We had originally been talking about putting up our own tower, and it was into hundreds of thousands of dollars. Is my memory correct?
Your memory is correct. And actually, we would have had some of the same expenses had we erected our own tower. This would still be required as far as the new cabling and the new antenna and relocating all of those repeaters to whatever site that would have been. So it's not necessarily mutually exclusive. It's not even mutually exclusive had we relocated on the same property where the water tank is. It probably would have been a little less expensive because the repeaters wouldn't have had to be moved. We wouldn't have to have the pads poured for the equipment cabinet and things like that. But there would have still been relocation expenses to get that equipment down from its current location and erected on it, any new tower site that would have been constructed.
So in moving this equipment, we'll be sure we're on the record. We're not going to lose communications at any point during this transition.
No, because the antennas are new and the repeaters will remain on the existing site and they'll be moved one at a time. So one repeater will be down, but the other one will still be functioning during the course of the move. So they would not lose communication at all during the process.
Good. Make sure everybody's safe and they make the call that they've got somebody to answer. Thank you.
Councilmember Roche.
I'm curious as to whether or not we put out for bids for this job or if we just went with Gulf Services.
There are very few subcontractors who do this type of work, and this is the subcontractor that Duke wanted us to use. It's the same subcontractor that erected all of their equipment on that tower and actually built the tower. So they're the most familiar with it. Chief Williams had, prior to us working out the details with Duke on the agreement, he had started to reach out to other contractors who do the work. But because Duke really wanted us to use this particular one and it is their site, we wanted to be respectful of their wishes to use the same subcontractor that was most familiar with their tower and with locating their equipment on it.
Okay, I'm just concerned that, wow, that's a lot of money. I just want to make sure we're not spending more than we absolutely have to.
Understood. Chief Williams and I knew that it would be roughly this amount of money. It wasn't a surprise to us that the expense is what it is. Like I mentioned, we had already started to initially look at some other vendors to provide relocation services for that. I don't think we're expending any more money than would be necessary, and under our procurement ordinance, I would consider this an emergency procurement because of the nature of the equipment and the fact that we can't be down, and because Duke has graciously allowed us to locate on their site. I really did not want to argue with them about who would be installing the equipment. They have, of course, their own interest in securing their site and having very few people with access to it. And that was one of the reasons why we thought it was more prudent to just go with the subcontractor that they wanted us to use.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Hearing no other discussion, are you ready for the question? Everybody wave. Looks like we are. Okay. All right. On the motion to approve the cost estimate for relocating the fire department communications equipment, I will poll council. Councilmember Gooch.
Yes.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Houlihan.
Yes.
Councilmember Roche.
Yes.
Councilmember Cummings.
Yes.
Councilmember Hutchings.
Yes.
And the mayor votes yes. The motion carries unanimously. Okay, that brings us to the last item on the agenda. Councilmember Cummings?
Make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I will just ask for you all to raise your hand if you're ready to adjourn. All right. I think that we are all ready to adjourn. Let me thank members of council, members of staff, and counselor. I think this process went fairly well for a pretty clunky process. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.